Alright, welcome to the intervention presentation. Let's go ahead and get started. So the problem is I'm working with a group right now that's not aligned. So they're doing things, mostly they're doing things independently to a large degree, even though they are one organization. And it looks like they are driving towards their own positions, but they're not really working together to accomplish the strategic goals that really help the organization to yield long-term results. So what's going on is there are three members of a group. They run an entertainment company, and they're doing venue work as DJs and KJs. That's playing music as a disc jockey, and they're also running karaoke as a KJ. They're also doing mobile work, and the mobile work is more weddings, bar mitzvahs, parties, you name it, school dances. And each member of the group focuses on what they were doing prior to becoming an organization. And they're working on that to be able to increase revenue, but the actions aren't really aligned to maximize revenue or brand exposure, so there's really no unified direction to coordinate tasks. If you move over here to this image, you'll see that there are three people, and this breaks down where they've been spending their time and what they've been doing. As you can see, person one spends most of their time doing mobile work because it's the most profitable. Person two spends most of their time doing karaoke work because it's got the most availability, because you can do it every single day of the week. And person three spends most of their time doing track research. And while track research is important, it's not revenue generating, which is the reason why person one and person two are a bit frustrated with person three. So the intervention needs to address not only the lack of unified goals and lack of direction, but also person three and their activities and the perception of the group. So the intervention that I'm working with is future search, because the organization is small. So I'm looking at targeting the organizational level. I feel like it needs to be a very strategic intervention. But at the same time, because it's a small organization, it really targets the group level as well, and a lot of the outcomes that you would get from targeting the group level. So what you're going to find is that as we move through the future search with the 5 tasks, which are focus on the past, focus on the present, ideal future scenarios, identifying common ground, and action planning, we'll be mixing and matching some games from GameStorming in to really bring the processes together to address the situation and engage the individuals more effectively. So to open up, what we're going to do is we're going to be focusing on the 2 tasks, focus on the past and focus on the present. The game we're going to play for focus on the past is History Map. That's going to help them to visualize their history and really think about how they got to where they are today. Now, I want them to be looking here at what they themselves were doing prior to becoming an organization, and then also from the beginning of the organization to where they are today. So it's kind of a 2-pronged approach, just so they can start to think of to look at all of the habits from their time working independently and also through other times in an organization to see where that has led. And I always emphasize the fact that where you are today is just the reflection of your previous habits. Now, at the same time, the next activity is going to be Welcome to My World, and this is going to be there to give others the opportunity to understand the roles and responsibilities that you have, and then also for you to be able to understand the roles and responsibilities of others. Now, what I want this to be able to do is to kind of help break down some of the perception and communication barriers around why people are doing what they're doing as far as their tasks, their work, their time management, and really expand that awareness to other people. That way we can start to see the shared reality and work on things together, which I really feel is it's part of what's been missing with this group, is them not seeing things from other people's perspectives and definitely not working on it together. So now on to the next exploring aspect. What we're going to do is we'll focus on the ideal future scenarios here and then focus on identifying common ground. Now, the game for the future scenarios is Cover Story. And what Cover Story has you doing, it has you doing a more of a visual activity, building a magazine cover, celebrating one of your big future goals. And the goal here is to have them think more expansively around their ideal future state and really think about what kind of goals and where they like to see themselves in the future. The reason I chose this activity is because I want them to think big. I want them to think beyond the constraints and beyond the issues they faced so far. I also, for the identifying common ground, I want them to be doing, or I want to introduce value mapping. And this has them building a value matrix, which quickly and clearly defines areas of interest. So when they bring their values together, we'll be able to see if there's congruence, if people are choosing the same things, or if they're in some ways disparate, and we'll be able to work with those, whatever we end up with, in the next activities. So closing the intervention, we'll be focusing on confirming the common ground, and then we'll focus on action planning. For confirming the common ground, we're going to be doing an activity called 2020 Vision, which is going to help get group clarity around projects and initiatives to prioritize. So we're going to take what we did in the value mapping previously, and we'll be able to go over those things and talk about how to prioritize them. Each person will be able to expand upon their ideas and also expand upon other people's ideas. You know, we can map out pros and cons. We can disagree here. But at the end of this, what we really want to be able to do is we really want to be able to gain the focus on which values and which priorities are going to give us the biggest push towards that ideal future state. And then from there, we're going to move into a graphic game plan so that we can start to get consensus around specific tasks that are required to complete the vision. We'll start to break it down into manageable chunks so that everyone can be responsible and also accountable to getting the things done they need to do in order to achieve that ideal future state. So why I chose this intervention, and the reason why is because looking at it, I wanted to dive into it at the strategic level and at the organizational level. Now, because it's a small group, a lot of the desired outcomes work well on the group level, which is what I was saying earlier. The reason I like Future Search is because it's done over a few days, and that gives people time to think about the activities that we did, what was said. It's not really, it's not a one-time situation where you just get together once, you talk about it, and then you're done. It's done over a number of days, which allows emotions to surface, allows people to go through more of an emotional process, and to start to be able to settle and then commit to the actions and things that need to get done. And the time given also shows organizational commitment. I mean, when you're giving more time for people to be able to meet multiple times and go through different activities, it shows that it's not just a knee-jerk reaction from the organization to go through the intervention, but it's really more of a thought-out and committed action because they're spending more organizational time on the activity. Now, how I would like to do this is really to get everyone together, preferably somewhere private. From there, we want to establish norms, so I like to have the group do that, where they can really create an open atmosphere, determine how they're going to interact with each other with professionalism and with courtesy, but at the same time, be able to agree and or disagree as they need to, and also, develop that rapport where people can be open and be able to share so that we can really get the most out of the time we have together. Also thinking about Sarah, understand the emotional process, so that's going to be shock, anger, resistance, acceptance, and then hope. Really giving people the permission to be emotional, but then also helping them to understand the things they may be feeling and facing, and giving them a safe space to be able to do so. As I mentioned before, I like the fact that this is done over time. It's done at least 3 days, but you can have other days in between those 3 days, which would give people more time to have their emotions settle and to be more committed. And also, throughout the process, just to treat problems as conflicts, and conflicts as information. So it's not so much, it's not so personal. It's definitely something where we want the conflicts to come out so they can be addressed, and we can address the problem and not the person. So we definitely want to have the final result being encouraging more responsibility. And here you'll see my resources. So that is the intervention that I chose.